guys, welcome in, and today I am joined by Gaston. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gaston G, and I'm a famous Tunnel 9 and Tunnel 10 builder. And in this video, I'm going to show you the basics of Tunnel 9 base building and do a few live builds. I'm thinking I will do one for no clan castle, no sap, and no witches, and one for Tunnel 9 clan castle, and one for max clan castle. And I will walk you through my thought process and everything.
Perfect. Let's just jump straight into it then, and you can guide us through how to build some OP 1009 bases.
Like most builders, I use a building method called the Skeletal Method. And I first map out my compartments and place key values, and later on I fill in the skeleton. So I will start with a double Expo comp, which will look something like this. I'm just using the buildings to measure the compartment, so I get 9x9s. And okay, so this compartment is, or the idea behind this compartment is that the Expos keep each other safe and cover each other, but it's hard to get both of them without investing a lot of value with like a jump or something. Later on I can make it even harder to get both of them. Usually I'll start my base with an ID, like perhaps this Expo comp. And usually you can get an ID by looking at some bases that have defended in previous wars, or looking at a good base on YouTube, and try to identify what makes them work, or if you see a nice compartment that have solid that helps the base in some ways. And then once you have identified a compartment or a setup, you can try to use it in your own builds to try to implement it and learn how to use it and slowly improve. And for new builders, I recommend that you copy bigger compartments, because it's way easier to build with or fill in the rest when you have big compartments already mapped out. So I will now continue to place down my air defenses, and I will place them in an L formation, like this. And you at the Tunnel 9 with no clan castle, or at Tunnel 9 in general, the lava loon is or Lalo is one of the strongest strategies, if not the strongest. And usually the easiest way to combat the lava loon is to have air defenses covering each other. And like here you have every air defense is in the range of multiple others, or at least one other. And this helps to melt the lava hounds very quickly. And when the lava hounds are gone, the loons are easy to take out. Some other setups you can use is use a T-shape or Y-shape air defenses, but you usually want to stay away from C-shapes because C-shapes is usually very easy to Lalo, or even square shapes. So I'll continue to build the skeleton, just using the most common compartments, like the 9x9 and 9x5 that we talked about earlier. And now we have completed the skeleton. I'll just center it. And now I want to place out the queen. So I want the queen to be away from the Expos to prevent great value. And then I will place the clan castle down, and I will place it close to the queen. You could argue that placing them together allows two key values to be taken out in once, but if you have, in this case, we will have a Lava Hound in our defensive clan castle later, and the Lava Hound will stall while our Archer Queen can kill their queen. So I think this will work out. Then I will place the king, and I want to place him away from the queen, but I'll place him over here to help protect this Expo, because it's on the edge and could be easy to sue or get in other ways. And the heroes, their main purpose are for Hogs and Lalo, and because when the attacking troops doesn't attack them, they will deal out massive damage. So since the queen has higher damage, she has higher value than the king. There are a few different clan castles you can use. In this case, we're going to use a Lava Hound for stall, which is the most common one. But you can also use a heavy DPS clan castle like Babe Dragon, Witch, Valk, Wizard, Goblins, and a mix between those. But both of those clan castles are weak to air, so you could also use an anti-air clan castle like a Dragon and Babe Dragon. But we will focus a lot on defending the Queen charges with Lalo and the Sui Lalo. So I don't think we need to have an anti-air or DPS clan castle here. I'll go on and place the bomb tower. You want to place it so to protect the queen, and you wanted to place the queen will follow lava hounds to the closest air defense. You want to place the bomb tower so it protects the queen when she arrives. So here the queen could step over here, and so we want to have a bomb tower there to protect her. Also, it's usually good to have a bomb tower or some other splash like wizard tower to cover the clan castle, so opponent can't use skeleton spells to get it. Then I will place down some wizard towers, and you want these away from the air defenses because wizard towers can hit a lot of loons, but if they get stuck on a lava hound, they will just keep hitting one lava hound, and this will greatly limit their potential damage per second. So you want the wizard towers away from the air defenses, like in this example. Then we'll place the sweepers, or place them here. There are a few different ways to place the sweeper. The most common one is to make it harder for loons to get to the wizard towers. You can also use it to try to prevent dragons from reaching your air defenses, but dragons is not as common without saps. And you can also try to use it to make a queen charge harder by pointing it in the direction of a possible queen charge, but that's more advanced, so we will just start with pointing it to our wizard towers.
At what point do you start thinking about placing traps and stuff? Is that something that you sort of think towards the end of a build, or do you sometimes go into a base thinking, I'm going to bait this certain entry or something like that?
Baiting a entry is usually the hardest part, because in order to do a good bait, you need to have a good understanding of how the opponent will attack. And usually it's easier to see afterwards when the base is finished where the opponent will attack. But in some cases, yes, you can make a bait early.
Okay.
But some setups, like perhaps a surprise Tesla farm or something, can be implemented early. But usually I do them later on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so then we will go to the archer towers and cannons. So you want your archer towers close to your wizard towers, because wizard towers could sometimes have problems with finishing the loons and leave them low health. So we will place some archer towers nearby. And then we want to place air defenses. They can't target ground, so we want to have ground coverage, so they don't get sniped by, say, say hog riders or a kill squad. So this is the most common way to place them. To have, can also use, if you have, you should use the geared up archer tower. Okay, so the geared up archer tower is very useful compared to the geared up cannon that is hardly ever used. But the geared up archer tower can be seen as a mini expo or a mini expo, and because it has very, very high damage per second and small range. So you can, there are a few different ways to use it. In this case, we'll use it to clear out lava pups in the middle of the base, to make the air defenses target lava hounds sooner, as well as cover the core of the base and prevent multi-layer wall breaks, or just put heavy DPS onto the attacker's troops. But you can also use it isolated, and it is a great way to take out lots of enemy loons combined with wizard towers. Now we're going to talk a bit about pathing, and by pathing, it basically means the path enemy troops is going to take, and mainly hog riders and loons and the defense targeting troops. So you want the defense targeting troops to get to your key values as late as possible. If you look here, it only takes, it's one defense before the attacker can get to the air defense. So you want to create a so-called defense ring in order to prevent them from reaching your key values quickly. So here on the upside here, we have two defenses before we can get to the expo. And the expo in the middle is safe, but here we have a few ways of getting to the air defenses early. So we'll use the mortars, which are basically or usually used as just key points to lure away defense targeting troops. We'll use them to make it harder to reach the defenses. So when I look at this base, I see it's very anti-air, and it could perhaps be a bit more anti-ground. So in this base, I will actually use a ground bow, and it's not as used as the air bow or the both ground and air bow. But when you have one in the middle of the base, it will constantly put damage onto any queen charge or any kill squad. And since this base is so anti-air already, I feel quite fine using it. So now we have placed every defense. So now we'll get into the trash buildings, which are the buildings that doesn't deal any damage. And so these are the storages, the collectors, the barracks and army camps. So storages and also the town hall, they have very high hit points, and they tend to stall up a lot of attacks, especially queen charges that have quite low damage at Town Hall 9. So you actually want them reachable from as many compartments as possible, because that way it will stall for as long as possible. So an example is if we have two buildings like this, then from the queen compartment you won't be able to reach this gold mine. But if you push it in, then it will be reachable from multiple, or it will be reachable from the queen compartment. So you want to do that, and try to make your storages reachable from as many different compartments as possible. And you try to identify where an opponent would attack. So say he would attack here from the queen, and then you try to place storages there to slow down the attacker. And then we also have the town hall, and the town hall, it depends a bit on the format, but if you have a one-hit format where only one hit is allowed, then you might want to use a centered town hall in order to force certain entries to guaranteed the 2-star. So we'll use that here. We'll have a central town hall, because in every format you want the town hall to use the town hall's high hit points to your advantage. But if we assume that the attacker only has 1 hit, then we want a centered town hall to force them to use a big kill squad that they probably not want to use on this base. So now we have filled in everything inside the base. So we'll start with the trash and how to use it on the outside. So the trash on the outside is used to try to make it hard to funnel to your troops inside the base, and make it cost a lot of troops. So you usually want the trash to be covered by defenses. So here the electric collector is covered by this archer tower, and with the remaining trash buildings, the collectors have the highest hit points. So you want to make sure to cover these with damage. Then we also have the army camp, and we want to use the army camps to basically split up the opponent's kill squad. So if we place an army camp here, then when the defenses have destroyed, or when the attacking troop have destroyed it, they will split to each side of the army camp. So usually you want your army camps in the middle of each side. The rest of the trash, you want to use it to make it hard to wall break into the base, and to make funnels hard. So you want to, if you like here, when you don't have coverage, you might as well place the trash far away. This both makes it possible to have a Tesla here, and forces the wall break to travel a farther way, or a farther path, which makes it easier for it to get sniped. I'd say this mortar. So we will just place out the remaining trash. So if you're running out of trash, then you can use like your builder hats in less important places, because they have very low hit points. So if no defenses cover them, it's usually quite fine. And now we'll go over to the traps. So the spring traps, we'll start with them. And you want the spring traps away from heroes, because you want your spring traps to hit enemy hog riders. So in this base where we have queen and king over here, we want the spring traps on this side. And you want your spring traps to be between 2 defenses, with a 1 tile gap in between, like this. And usually you can just go for the middle square, or middle tile, but it depends a bit on the pathing, but you can look at that later. So here we place out a few spring traps, and then we'll go over to the giant bombs. And the giant bombs are also used for hog riders, so you want to keep them away from the heroes as well. So we can, if we just do something like this, and now we can fit a giant bomb in between. You usually want you almost always want your giant bombs to be between 2 tile gaps with defenses. So there's a good place to place a giant bomb, and you can also place one over here, for example, because this is not as good, but it's possible to do this. We'll also take a quick look at the red air bombs, and you want them away from you want the red air bombs to hit loons, so you want them away from the air defenses, and because at the air defenses the lava hounds will pop. You don't want lava pops to trigger, so usually you want your red air bombs away from the range of the air defenses. So you want to clump them up with your wizard towers. So we'll do something like this. This works. Then we'll take a look at the small bombs, and you want them to make wall breaks into the most common entry harder. So in this base, we can see that perhaps many attackers would want to go for the queen and get an air defense and a clan castle. So we will set up a few small bombs here. You want the small bombs 2 tiles away from the wall. This makes them harder to detect with test wall breakers, and yeah, it's harder to detect with test wall breakers and still hit, and they still hit the wall breaker. We can also place a few or the remaining small bombs over here if the opponent wants to break into the expo compartment and get the king. That's quite good value for them. Then we can also place the SAMs, and you want the SAMs to either hit lava hounds if the opponent is doing lava loon. You want them to hit dragons if the opponent is doing dragons, or healers if the opponent is doing queen charges. But usually you can just place 1 SAM near every air defense. That's usually a safe bet, because queen charges from over this side seems quite hard with the ground expo and the clan castle. And lastly, we have the Teslas and the skeleton traps. So skeleton traps, they can either be on ground or air, but they can also be used they can be used to stall the enemy or to provide damage, and they can provide damage to defense targeting troops like loons or hogs. So you could have like an air skeleton here, but instead I'm going to use a so-called Tesla farm, which is 4 defense or 4 Teslas close together, and this creates a surprise spot with a lot of damage. And I'll also move the giant bombs and I'll place these 2 spring traps here, and then I will place a skeleton trap here. So the opponent will encounter a lot of unexpected DPS here, and that can force an early queen ability or kill a lot of hogs if the opponent doesn't plan to use a heal over there. And then the last skeleton I will use over here. So then the last bomb I will do like this. See that I will curve the wall. So now we fit a giant bomb, and the archer tower the air defense is still unreachable from the outside, and the funnel is quite hard to form. So now just a quick overview of the base. What works, what doesn't. This base looks quite solid. If you wanted, you could see that perhaps an attacker will come into the queen compartment, try to sue it to get a lot of value, so perhaps you shouldn't have a SAM over there. You can move it here. If a lava hound come here, it will pop very quickly, and then the lava pops will get erased by the Tesla farm and the geared arch tower. That could work better. And you could say perhaps this, something like that. So I think we're done. We could once again, the clan castle has a lot of hit points. You could move it 1 tile to make it reachable from other compartments. But overall, this base is finished and it looks quite well. And I will provide every base that I built today with links in the description of the video.
Okay, so for this one, we will build a base against max clan castle, max level clan castle, that is. And usually, when you allow max clan castle, it's very easy to attack, and almost all town 9 bases gets 3-star. So you usually want to build something funky or something weird that the opponent isn't familiar with, and will have a hard time. Will have a hard time to attack because like weird comps that could make troops walk, or moats, or stuff like that tends to work. We'll also take a bigger look at how to defend bowlers and E-drag, which are the 2 most common clan castles used, especially in just regular wars and not league wars. So I will start with 2 Expo compartments that are very big. They will actually be 13 by 13. And this is an example of a funky setup or a weird setup. And the opponent probably haven't attacked a lot of compartments like this. And the Expo is would be unreachable from every direction. And if the opponent misses these Expo, it could cause a lot of troubles. So I'll actually make a symmetric base. Previously, we have only built anti-symmetric bases, but and that is, yeah, symmetric bases are often easier to build and goes a lot quicker because you basically just need to build half a base. But they don't have the same bait potential as a anti-symmetric base has. So here we'll have the core, which is once again a 9x9 core. We'll expand to this other Expo compartment. And we're curving the edges to make it harder to wall break into it, and it will be easier to place small bombs later to prevent it, and it's easier to make a lot of troops walk around here, and because these buildings tend to be closer. So we'll do something like this, and then I'm actually going to break a rule I previously stated, and that is to use a square setup of air defenses. Because when you're building for max clan castle, you have to defend the E-drag, and that means you need to have an air defense on almost every entry, because otherwise the E-drag could and probably will get a lot of value. So I'll do start with something like this. Box in all the air defenses. So we can use something like this. And I also realized that this compartment is 1 tile too big, so I'll use it like this. And that also means I have to change this. Okay, so I will just continue to expand some compartments here to make it hard to get multiple air defenses in one raid, or in one with a simple SUI. I have 5 more walls. I'll use them later on. So I will place the king and queen together, because on a lot of regular wars if the hog riders are usually very risky, and you can like we talked about in the previous base, you can trap them or bait them, and that's once again what we're going to do a bit of that. We will place our wizard towers away from the air defenses, and this is kind of a reverse bait, if you want to call it that, because this base is actually quite weak to Lalo, because you can sue an air defense and the queen, and probably the clan castle, and the shape of the air defenses makes Lalo quite strong. But a setup like this, where all the wizard towers are out of range of the air defenses, probably means that the attacker will use another strategy, which is good because this base could be weak to Lalo. And we will have a hard time placing a bomb tower here, so I'll just, because it can't cover both air defenses, I will just choose to cover this air defense. I like these sweepers like this to and so they protect the Expos, because there are a lot of sap drags in max CC as well. Max E drag and saps plus drags is very common. So this time I'll start placing in some storages early on. I want to keep everything 2 tiles away from the wall and from if possible from other defenses, because that makes it so that the E-Drag can chain important defenses. So place it like this. So now you can't chain the Expo from out here. I'll continue with cannons, and one thing you might have realized is that a lot of my defenses, a lot of space is already taken, and I still have very many defenses, and that's because when you play against max clan castle, you usually want to have a lot of defenses on the outside, because both bowlers and E-drags can get a lot of value in your core with the spells. So I had to have a lot of outside defenses can actually help here, because if a good attacker could exploit the outside defenses, but if you face a good attacker in max clan castle, it's highly unlikely that you will actually stop him. So place the archer tower something like this, and the last cannon I would place on the opposite side of the bomb tower. I have a few extra walls. I think I will use them now, and now I'll go a step away from the 9x9 compartments and make the air defenses into 10x9 compartments, and this makes it so you can chain from this cannon and this cannon to the air defenses, and also from these drills to the air defense. I will isolate these top air defenses to once again make it harder to funnel an E-drag or just regular drags into them. And then the remaining walls I will use here to create a dead zone. Dead zone is usually used to separate kill squads, or makes it hard to do queen charges or kill squads into certain parts of the base. So now if you enter from, it will be hard to get from one air defense to the other side here. It's possible here, but here you have the king and queen and clan castle and way more defenses that will make it hard. I'll place my tunnel here, and I will place more trash over here to make it hard to chain the Expos. And another thing that you might have realized is that I don't have a lot of storages in the core, which we usually do to stop kill squads. This is because of the bowlers, because the bowlers can get a lot of value with storages inside the base. Then the remaining mortars we will place over here to prevent easy access to the Expo. And now we'll go into the fill-in phase, and where we just fill in the trash. Something else happened to this cannon. No. So, but we'll just fill in. And say over here, we want to keep everything 2 tiles away, to make sure that it can't chain anything. Here we'll even keep it further away, in case of the king moving over or something. Okay, so now for the traps, the air bombs, and they're used in the same way, and as well as the springs. So we'll use a few springs over here, and also we'll use some giant bombs over here. Now when we have a lot of splash in the middle and a Expo on the outside, it's very possible that the opponent will try to use witches. Even so, we will probably need to run a lava hunt clan castle. We can also use some witch bombs. We can use them over here, and make it even harder to reach the Expos. And the remaining small bombs we will use them here to make it hard to sweep 2 air defenses. And we'll use the red air bombs we'll use on the Tesla sides, and as well as here. And then we'll just, where would the opponent sap? The opponent probably wants to attack on this side to get to engage the archer towers early on. So we'll actually place all of these saps over here, and then lastly the skeleton traps, and we'll use one over here to help the get, and then lastly we'll use one here. So let's take a look at the finished base, and yeah, this looks quite weird to attack. You can get a lot of value from some comps like the Expo comps because they're way too big, but you would probably need to use like a well-placed queen charge or a optimal kill squad to do that. That could trick a lot of opponents, because most opponents that play max clan castle at town 9 are usually they usually use more spam strategies.
Yep. How often do you find yourself building these kind of symmetrical bases? Is this something you do a lot, or do you tend to not really do these?
Well, it depends. They are a lot easier to build for sure.
Yep.
But I usually find I find it hard to, or I usually find them not as good as anti-symmetric bases, because for example here the queen is equally close to 2 air defenses, but you only have 1 bomb tower.
Yep.
So that gives the opponent a lot of freedom to choose this side if they want to avoid the bomb tower and engage this cannon early, or this side if they want to soothe the bomb tower in case they want to do a hog attack.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, I do have to say I do quite like this base. It's pretty different to the other two that you've built for us. So it's yeah, it's definitely pretty different to any sort of bases I tend to see at Town Hall 9. So I think it'll be interesting. As always, let us know down in the comments if you guys do end up running this base. We'd love to know how this one fares for you guys. If you do run them in wars, while you're down there, make sure you like the video, subscribe as well, show Gaston a little bit of love and support. Thank you so much for coming on to the channel, man. Really has been a blast having you.
Yeah,
these bases
really
look awesome. Can't wait to try some of them out myself. Hopefully they defend well. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure to meet you too.